Now we're recording.
All right.
All right. So here we are actually live now.
All right.
Well, not live. We're going to be live in just a moment here.
Shortly, we will be live. We are actually alive, but not on live. So I'll be sipping water throughout the show.
Maybe a few bathroom breaks. 3 since you've been here.
Don't judge me, man. Drink a lot of water. I got a throat issue going right now, but I'm good. All right.
Well, nothing is better than having a lot of water in your system.
No, yeah, it's good for you.
Actually, ask my wife or anybody who spends a lot of time with me. Anytime I have back pain, or I'm tired, or a headache, or anything that's not perfect, I'm like, oh, I'm just dehydrated, and I go and I just drink a bunch of water, and I inevitably feel quite a bit better.
No, a lot of times that is it though. People don't think about that. Even when they're hungry, sometimes they don't realize just that you're actually thirsty, and you have the best water.
It's pretty good.
It's
really, really good.
I know you got a whole little system there for your water.
It's very. I would explain it to everybody, but it's like more complicated than I can actually.
It's like a distillery.
Yeah. That's the conversation led to my faucet system being as complex as the whiskey distillery. What's the name of that whiskey?
Look, I need you to edit in a picture of your sink apparatus. I don't even want to call it a faucet because it's got so many levers and wheels and pressure gauges. It's like he's making moonshine here, and but it's your water faucet, but it's pretty complicated. I did not know how to turn on the water faucet. That's how complicated it is. So you talk about simplifying.
Spend a lot of time in the kitchen, apparently.
You talk about simplifying your life. Simplify that sink.
And then I talk about evolving your life.
Well, you evolved your sink then, because that thing's pretty damn
complicated. You'll be so evolved and so totally conscious just to be able to use my sink.
That's about right. That's funny. So.
And I wonder why I haven't made.
Yeah, right. She probably doesn't know how to. She probably just cleans it, doesn't know how to turn it on. She's like, I got water from the outside. Yeah, there's water from the hose outside. It's so damn complicated.
Oh wow.
Funny. All right. Well, having fun with you, buddy.
Yeah.
Already this morning.
Yeah, we were gonna start this live feed a lot earlier, and we actually just got talking quite a bit.
Chit chatting.
And it was really neat because I asked Roman to come over because, as you know, if you've watched any of our videos before, that the premise behind Evolved Life is actually that we can learn from each other, and people all have these strengths that they've been able to use to accomplish great things, and we've all made mistakes. We've all hit walls at times. So the idea is, how do we as individuals share stories? How do we change the conversation instead of sitting and just talking about politics or sports or the small talk, the weather, the things that we really don't control unless we're in those businesses? And
right.
Instead of talking about that, we talk about like our hopes and dreams and how we actually do things.
Yeah.
So I asked Roman to come over and share his vision board with us and his method for vision boarding, and we're going to get to that. I have the whole presentation that we used at Evolve Life, and he's got actually the vision board here with him, and he can walk you through all those steps. But I thought it would be really nice to actually continue our conversation from the kitchen here, where, one thing I've noticed about Roman that is I admire so much is when he sees a situation, he always is like he investigates it quite a bit. And what I often do is if I see a situation that I'm not into, I just kind of move away from it. I'm like, I don't even want to talk about this. Like, can we just go in a different direction? But Roman's like, did he just really? Like,
yeah.
What?
Why? I want to know why something's happening.
Yeah, and then finds the funniness in it, and it's so cool because it just makes it so you can actually chuckle at any given point in time. Like, you could be annoyed with something so much, and I heard you chuckle just. Yeah. And I think that's actually an amazing tool to have, and I want to know how to do that. So I want to know how you do that so I can incorporate it in my life.
That's funny. I don't know. I've always kind of been that way, and it's funny because I've had friends and even my wife where I think they can tell when I'm really paying attention to something, and they know my wheels are turning. Mm-hmm. And sometimes too, my wife will know when I'm wanting to comment on something, and she's like, please don't. Like if something really ridiculous is happening, and she'll see it, and sometimes she'll be going, don't say anything, please don't say anything. And I'll finally blah, but I don't know what it is. It's like, I think you can, even in negative situations, right, where something's frustrating you or irritating you, I think if you try to find a little bit of humor, that little bit of silver lining, not even a silver lining, I guess you could say, but just maybe even the ridiculousness of it, the fact that it's happening, and you make yourself laugh, like it just kind of, like, and then you almost appreciate the experience. Because now it's giving me something to talk about. To me, like, I've got something to share with someone when I can talk about this particular thing that happened or that particular thing that didn't happen. And this is kind of stupid. I shared this the other day on the radio show.
It's stupid. I shared on the show. So
it's so stupid. I'm going to share it twice.
And his wife is here. She'd be like, "Don't be stupid."
Right? Yeah. I make a living off sharing stupid things. So, but it was even something that's, we've all done this. We go to eat somewhere, they don't get your order right. Right? That's something simple. And it can be irritating. Matter of fact, I've seen that happen with your wife, where something happened, and she was so sweet about it when they came and they asked her, they go, is everything great? Is everything, and she goes, well, no, not really. And here's why. And she explained, and I just was laughing the way she did it. She was so
Canadian.
She was so Canadian, right? And she's like, no, it's moot. And here's why. So,
hey, I'll root that.
Right. Yeah, you forgot the cheese, eh? So, I don't know how to say it. Anyway, so stuff like that. So I had a situation where it was like an order was wrong, and I was talking about it, how it became a funny thing to me afterwards. But it actually became funny too when someone was letting me know the way I responded. They thought, Roman, that's funny that you went to this length or whatever. And I was like, oh yeah. So now it's like a story I share all the time, even though at the moment it was like, what, but
you give us a story.
So it's stupid. That's what I was going to share. So I'm at a Whataburger.
That's why.
I'm at a Whataburger, and I ordered. They had me sold on the idea of this like bacon ranch burger thing, right? It's supposed to be like bacon.
Is this how you lost 40 pounds?
Barbecue's not there, right? Hey, I'm right. If I do eat a bad occasion, I gotta go walk. So walk away from the fridge. So what I hate is the deceptive practices of the way these commercials, for any food really, they make it look like you think you're going to order that burger and it's going to be this tall based on the commercial.
Yeah.
Now, I understand, real life, it's not. But so I get this burger, right, and I open it up because I didn't see any bacon. And then I'm finally looking around, and then I see literally like a stamp-sized piece of bacon in there in this barbecue sauce. So I went back and I said, I'm sorry, man.
Like a postage stamp.
Literally like a postage stamp size of bacon.
Like that big.
Right. So how that doesn't qualify as a bacon burger to me. So I went back and I told the lady, I'm sorry, ma'am, it doesn't seem to really put the bacon in here. And I showed her the little thing. I said, I kind of had to find that one. And she goes, oh, okay, I'll take care of it, sir. So she goes back to the back, and you know what? There's actually a bigger lesson here too. She goes back to the back, and I see her, and I see her telling the guy, and he starts rolling his eyes like, oh my god, he gets
another one,
right? And so I go, is there a problem? And he goes, no, sir, there's no problem. It's just no one told me they wanted to add extra bacon to the burger. To which then I say, no one's asking for extra bacon, bro. Just ask for the regular bacon that's supposed to be on there. And so
nobody asked for less bacon.
Right.
Either.
I just want to order a burger. So then the lady, I guess she could tell by our tone that this could escalate. And so real quick, she got that bacon on there, and she comes to me and she goes, look, sir, here you go, sir. Here's your bacon, sir. Then I felt like a weirdo, like I'm just some pig that needs more bacon. And so, which I was, obviously, because I was like,
where's my bacon?
What's this crap? But it just became funny. It became stupid. Because then I had to look at myself and go, really, Roman, you're asking, like, for the proper amount of bacon, like, which is reasonable, but I had to start laughing at myself that this was so stupid. And, but I did take a picture of the burger and I tweeted it to the corporate office, but that's the whole rest of the story. But I took it to that length. So, and they didn't care. They never responded. That shows how insignificant the whole thing is in the big scheme of things in life. But it's just kind of funny because you've seen videos probably of people going to like a fast food place and literally start fighting because an order was wrong.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's extreme.
They lose their shit.
Right. And it's like,
that's actually entertaining to watch.
It's entertaining and it's sad because you go, what is going on in your life that this thing was either your tipping point or are you like this all the time?
Or maybe their life's so perfect that not having enough bacon triggers them. And that's happening with a lot of people. You see people getting triggered over some like ridiculous
stupid stuff. And they get stressed out.
And stuff they can't control, stuff they'll never even see, that doesn't affect their daily lives. They just read it on the news or saw it on Facebook and they're like hours crying about it.
Or days. I've seen that where people can't let something go. But that's the thing too, you gotta find some humor in it because ultimately we can't change a whole lot, like you said. We can't change the weather. We can't change the traffic jam we're caught in. And so you just got to find something light about it to lift that up a little bit, you know. It's just, so I don't know. So that happens to me. Fortunately for me, a lot of times that just happens to me naturally. Something happens and I wind up laughing about something.
So help me out here. I'm going to give you a scenario. Which I actually shared a little bit with you last night. Okay. We went to a fundraiser for MS, and last minute I got an email invite to it, or a text invite from one of our friends that put it on, and I was kind of wishy-washy whether I should go or not because I actually had some plans that evening. Those plans changed, and I ended up driving out there, and it was pouring rain the whole way. So it's now this 35, 40-minute drive turns into like an hour and 20 minutes in like torrential downpour Texas roads. Like I'm in my M4, which I love that car, but it's not a car for the. You're laughing at this, so you're gonna see what's funny in this, right? So I'm just driving up there, and I'm thinking to myself, like I am all by myself in this pouring rain, and I can't even like put my phone on because I need all of my concentration just to drive.
To survive.
Just to get there. Because the tires are really wide, so my car hydroplane's really easy, which makes it kind of fun, actually. So I was looking for the funness. And I'm like, this is kind of like an adventure. If I was 16 and just come out of this, this is the coolest thing ever.
Because you're a grown man.
You're just laughing at me already. So help me bridge the gap and how I could have been up there driving up and been laughing because you're already there.
Because think about it, Ian. If the weather had been perfect and you just drove and showed up, you could talk about the event. But now you have something more to add to it. That this basically became for you a quest.
It was
a quest for comedy, and so it did become an adventure. And so because when you share with me, I laugh because I envision you trying to get there and in your head going, why am I even here? Why am I not at home or somewhere just chilling? Why am I tense, worried about hydroplaning to get to this comedy show to hear Roman probably talk about bacon on a burger? So it's just, it adds flavor to what you did. And so, remember like that movie?
I was actually driving with 2 hands on the wheel, like death grip, like if you guys ever did anything with your hands, like racing motorcycles or anything like I do, you get this thing called forearm pump where you can't even hold on anymore because your death grip is so hard. I was like that driving and
it makes it
intense.
And it's also like, hey, you cared so much about the charity, you were willing to risk your own life to get there. See?
That's a little embellishing.
That's a little bit embellishing.
But I guess in a way it's actually true.
If you want to impress your wife. Yeah.
That is what I wanted.
It was a fundraiser for a good cause.
I was like, if I'm going to spend my money, I might as well do it for a good cause that my friends are organizing and stuff.
But it adds a little flavor to it.
Yeah.
So like for me, so here's the thing, and I've posted about this before on social media. I'm notorious for running out of gas.
Yes.
Notorious. I don't know why. Like I figure I'll get some a little later. I think because I'm always like trying to get one place to another, and I feel like I don't have time. But then it's like, well, if you don't have time to put gas, you certainly don't have time to run out of gas, right? Which that's the logical way to think about it. But with me, every time I run out of gas, no kidding, not even exaggerating here, it always becomes an amazing adventure. Something fun always comes out of me running out of gas. And so I don't learn my lesson because I've never taken it as a negative. When I run out of gas, it's like almost like it's been positive reinforcement. That stuff has come out of it.
So that becomes an exciting day when you run out of gas.
It almost does, yeah. So it's like almost like I'm maybe subconsciously trying to run out of gas just to have some little extra fun thing to do today. Like, it's weird, but I don't know. Like,
If you can apply that in areas of your life, like that, if you can apply that all the time, is there ever a time where you can apply that, where you're like, oh my God, I'm pissed?
Well, yeah, sometimes obviously in the heat of the moment of something, you're gonna but then too, I will try to find something that, like I said, makes me laugh or some. I'm pretty sarcastic person, and so I'll put some sarcasm to something, and it makes me laugh and entertain myself, and then I'm just like, I'm kind of okay with it,
Okay.
So even times, let's say, where a financial issue or whatever, relationship issues. Oh, there's always something. So my wife hates, like, we'll have an argument or something, and for some reason, man, I want to laugh a lot of times. Like,
it's just that.
It is, and it makes it worse.
Men watching, do not try that at home.
It's only for professionals. And she can see it. Like, she's, blah, 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 and getting all crazy, or maybe we're arguing, and I'm looking at her, and I start to smirk, and I'm trying to hold it in, and I'm trying not to laugh. And she gets more, and she goes, don't start laughing. Who says that to someone? Why would you ever tell someone not to laugh? Like, you would think she would be on board with it and say, you know what, I'm glad he's laughing, and I'm going to laugh too, and we're going to laugh this problem away. But she doesn't look at it like that. She looks at it like, keep laughing, and you're a dead man. So, but I just can't help it. Like, there's something in my nature that I just do that. I've always been like that, where I think even like times of tragedy when I was young, family member passed away and everything. For some reason, it was kind of weird too when I was a kid. I would kind of chuckle, and it almost seemed creepy, but I think it's an automatic, like just a coping mechanism in a way.
Yeah, well, it's a way to release that energy, right? Like,
Yeah.
it sounds to me like some of the stuff that you described here, like your wife might actually use volume when she has to get something out of her by maybe raising the volume a little bit.
A little bit. Yeah, a little bit.
My wife has this thing where she has her chin wiggles before my wife's really sensitive, and she's amazing, but she cries like she's a crier, and like it's like it can be like an animal on the side of the road that got hit like 3 days ago, and there's nothing left but the tail, and she's like starts crying when we're driving sometimes because she's so like empathetic.
Right.
And before she cries, her whole chin's like, does this wiggle?
See?
And I try to get it on camera one day for you guys because to me it's actually kind of hysterical.
And I would want to laugh at that. Yeah. You don't want to laugh at them being sad or
crying, like But sometimes you do.
Funny. That's funny. Old wiggle chin there. That's funny. See, like stuff like that. I'm sorry, but it would make me laugh. No matter what the situation. But this can be a good thing though. How many times have you gone, let's say, to a funeral, and it's a sad occasion, but once people start talking and mingling, you start laughing. They share stories. They share memories. So laughter is a good thing. It gets you through that stuff. And that's one of the things Gleto talked about, at the seminar we had done. Those kind of laughter, getting you through stuff. So I think it's a good thing. Sometimes I can take it too far, whatever. So, I
don't know. Can you take laughter too far? Comment now. Do you think laughter is the best medicine, or can you take it too far sometimes?
Yeah. I think, like for me, I say, like, in situations, let's say, where I should be more serious, I'll laugh. And I don't know.
Even you trying to be serious? Did you do that again for everybody? Yeah. Not serious at all.
So I don't know. I just think that if you can find some humor in something, it's only going to help. I think it's only going to help. Obviously there's a time and a place for everything. But for the most part, I find it hard to find a situation where, believe it or not, I've gotten a lot of material out of funerals. I know that sounds weird, but because funerals are funny. I don't know, they're okay. That's a weird statement. Let me change it. Let's say funerals are funny, but can be funny.
Can you explain why?
There's a potential for comedy. So
you'll be laughing at my funeral for sure.
So yes, and take it as,
I hope so.
Take it as positive. So. Like, I remember, my wife had a relative that passed away a long time ago, and we drove up to, like, West Texas for this service, and my kids were little, and I remember my son, Jonah, this was his first, like, funeral service or anything to be at, and so he was trying to figure it out. you think about it from a perspective of a kid. Like, we're adults, we already knew, but like he wasn't getting it, so he was asking questions. And so the casket is way up at the front of the church. We were kind of in the back, and he was saying, "So what's that up there?" You know, and we said, "Well, that's the casket where your mom's brother, you know, that they're going to bury him in that." And he's like, "What do you mean?" And we're like, "Well, that's where they put his body to put him in the ground." And he's like, "What? His body is in there, up there?" And we're like, "Yeah, he's dead." "Yeah, he's dead." I gotta see this. Like it was so fast, and it was making me laugh though that he was just so like, "Oh my gosh," you know. So there's just, and then I remember too at that service, the priest cursed during the sermon. See, I'm saying stuff that I think he meant to, but he cursed.
Did you drop an F-bomb?
And it wasn't that extreme, but it was so funny. But stuff like that, just I don't know. It just makes me laugh. You know, like little things, and we've all been there. We've all been to a funeral where there's something. I had a friend who passed away, and used to do a lot of stuff with the circus, and so at the service, like a bunch of like circus people showed up, like in costume and stuff. How are you not gonna? I don't care if you're at a funeral, you're gonna laugh at this stuff.
Yeah,
and so
you go to a lot of funerals.
I go to a lot of funerals, so because I find it funny.
So if you're ever in need of somebody to go to a funeral,
right?
Like just
people hire professional criers. I mean,
do you actually just read the obituary section and figure
out
where you go to?
Right. I'm like, so are we all meeting for chicken afterwards or no? So
right out for jokes.
Yeah, because they usually have a reception afterwards. But that's what I'm saying. And I bring up funerals because that's probably one of the biggest things that you could see as a sad event, as a funeral. But, you know, like I said, just like with anything, out of that sadness, there's things that can bring some laughter and some joy. So, again, finances, too. I have a friend of mine, she was having a real difficult time with her finances. And she said, and I knew she was stressing out.
So if you're having trouble with your finances at all, this is where you want to really listen in, because this is going to be how you can see your situation's funny.
Yes. And I remember one time someone said, you never see on someone's tombstone, like, he paid all his bills on time. You know, you don't see that. Like, let your life be worth more than that. We all got to pay our bills, I understand that. But you can't let that be a thing that is ruining your state emotionally every day. I know easier said than done. Again, I've been there. I've been at the point where I was going to lose my house. I've been at the point where, you know, I wasn't paying on a car. I've been at the point where, I've been on that stuff. I've been at the point where I didn't have anywhere to live for days and I'm sleeping in the car. I've been there. I get it. One of the things I remember when I was younger and just trying to make it and was so broke, and my dad had an acoustic guitar and it meant a lot to me, and I had to go pawn it. And I never had the money to take it back out. And I lost that guitar. And it always bothered me. And then I was really into music. I wound up pawning all my music equipment, and I lost all of it. But then years later, as I was accumulating some things back, you know, when things had turned around, and I remember I went and bought another acoustic guitar at a pawn shop that I liked. And I remember my wife made a note to me. She says, "Do you realize everything you lost, you're getting back, but you're getting back even more?" And I went, you know, I hadn't thought about it, but I really had.
Yeah. Because life comes in seasons. Like it's really interesting how that works. Like you'll have times of harvest where like everything's just going great. But then there's also the time where it's the opposite, where you're just like actually planting your seeds,
right,
and figuring out what's going to happen. And it's like that's when the work actually happens, is when you're sitting there planting the seeds and then cultivating the land, so to say,
yes,
and actually taking care of it and nurturing it. And a lot of us are really good at like just planting the seeds because we see something shiny and we're like, oh, we're all about it. We get excited, like, oh, this is the newest, coolest thing. So we plant a bunch of seeds, but if we don't give them the attention and we don't give them the nurture, the water,
yes,
so to speak, the attention's like the sunlight. If we don't actually give them those things, they don't grow. We have to take those actions that actually do something with it. And it's very easy to get started and like just plant a bunch of seeds and then hope that something happens.
Right.
And sometimes it does happen automatically because the universe is always delivering us cool stuff.
Right.
So it's really cool to hear that you kind of saw that happen with your story.
Yeah. It all, you know, kind of came back around. And so the point I'm trying to make is that those, like you said, those financial hardships or whatever, it's a season, and you got to get through that season. But try to get through that season too without allowing yourself to have been so depressed and down through that season, because every moment is precious, every minute is precious, and so you don't want to. What if your season lasts a year, 2 years, 3 years? Are you going to be in darkness and just bleakness for those seasons? Are you going to try to say, hey, you know what? I'm going to keep looking for these moments of joy, something that I can celebrate, something that I can laugh about, even during those times. And so what I was starting to share by a friend who was going through that, and she made me laugh because she says, look, Roman, I just write out the checks to who I owe the money to. Whoever gets to the bank first, that's who gets paid. And that always stayed with me because I said, that is such a great, not the best way to do your accounting and finances, but it was so funny to me because she was basically like, screw it, I'm doing what I can, go. Y'all go. Yeah. Whoever gets it, gets it. And it was like a free fall. So I just thought that was so funny, though, and her attitude. And sure enough, she got through that season and is doing a lot better. But it's one of those things that, if something's out of our control, something happens that we can't, you just got to, again, try to find a way to still not allow yourself to be brought down so much, emotionally and the way you're feeling and in your attitude because of that. Like I said, easier said than done, but you can do it because I've done it.
Yeah, and the thing is, if you're in that state, in that moment where you're not feeling great, that's not a good time to make decisions about anything anyway. Right. Because you're going to make it from this feeling of like, oh my gosh, I'm in pain. And when you're actually, in the state of feeling like excited and hopeful, your decisions are inherently going to be significantly better. Yes. So if you're in that state, like the first thing all you got to do is recognize it. Now, Roman's got a really cool way of dealing with it by trying to find what's funny about this. Yeah. Do you ask yourself like a question like that? Like, what can I find that's funny about this?
I don't necessarily ask myself that, but I think, like we brought up earlier, I think I look into things and I just look for quirks, I guess. It's just kind of a natural part of who I am, and it's the quirks that make me laugh, the things that doesn't make sense, or why is that, that way, or the ridiculousness of it. I'll take something in my mind and I'll embellish it to a different level,
So you sit there and actually exaggerate it and make it like...
I do.
You just blow it up. Do you actually take the picture of it, like this is what's going on, and make it like really big physically?
That's kind of what happens, yeah. I see it.
Okay.
I see it, and it becomes this big, ridiculous thing.
So in the Whataburger, like, the guy's eye roll came into big focus, and you just saw him like eyes roll.
When I say he rolled his eyes, I don't know if he really rolled his eyes. I mean, I think he may have blinked. He may have gone, but in my mind, I saw him go. This guy, like that's what I saw.
Does that happen with anybody else in your life, Roman?
It happens with everybody. It happens with everybody. So, right.
Yeah, there's something for you to dig into.
Right. Maybe I have to start examining myself.
The stories we tell ourselves to fit the means we want to create.
And it's funny because my kids exaggerate stuff, and I find myself calling them sometimes on it, like, calm down, it's not all that. But then I think, this can be a real positive trait.
If you can use
done the right way. Yes, done the right way, right. So
basically, if you have a bad situation, tell me if this is right. We can change this up. Like, make it a million times worse, so it becomes so incredibly crazy that you can laugh at it.
That's a good point. As long as you're not making it the bad part big to where it's hurting you more, make it too ridiculous. And I used to have a friend that used to say, break it down to the ridiculous. Mm-hmm. Now he was talking about sales. So an example, if I'm coming to you and I'm saying, hey, this thing is $100 a month, it's easier to break it down to, hey, this thing is $3 a day kind of thing. So you can tear things apart. So let's say you got a debt collector calling you. First of all, rule number one, don't answer the phone. There you go. So, right, there you go. That was worth you tuning in just for that. Yeah. So they tell me about a joke about the healthcare thing. They're like, oh, they were promising free healthcare, and I'm like, we already got it. Just don't pay the bill. So, but you heard
the bird actually was laughing.
I didn't know what that was. I go, who laughed? was the bird. That's funny. The bird gets my humor. See?
Yeah,
Again,
she's pretty smart.
can't make
You're
that
really
up.
that funny.
I can't make that up. Right, yeah.
Actually, most of his shows have nothing but African gray parrots at them.
Roman Garcia, pet comedian. So, but no, yeah, you can just again, you can take something, a debt collector, whatever, and in your mind, you can visualize who this person is, what they're doing on their break. If they're talking about whatever, just make a scenario that makes it kind of funny and just kind of makes it, I don't know, ridiculous, to where you're like, you know what, I'll deal with this. And so now he's not the scary debt collector. He's like this nerd who is, his girlfriend's fighting with him today, and that's why he's taking it out on you and telling you need to pay your bills and be more responsible. And he's upset because his girlfriend broke up with him or cheated with his best friend. Who knows? But you come this whole thing.
Scenarios that you always put up. It's like it's crazy.
So because yesterday I was thinking about that. Okay, I went to see Wonder Woman. That's a whole different. I won't get into talk, but I was in my mind. I was thinking about the things that like women do, right? And women drivers. People joke about women drivers all the time, right? Don't get offended, ladies. People joke about women drivers. My thing with women, I don't think necessarily women are bad drivers. Except the other day, a woman whizzed by me in like this big, huge truck, coming around a corner, and she was putting on her lipstick, looking in the mirror, and I went, see, that's insane, right? But to me, women take forever to back out of parking spaces. They take forever to back out of parking space. I don't know why. Like, I could be at the grocery store, and, let's say there's no parking, and I see a woman get to her car, like she's done, she's going to leave. I usually now, for the most part, will just move on to another space, because I'm going to be there 30 minutes.
Maybe she's putting her lipstick on before she starts driving.
Okay, and that's what I'm saying. And that's the question. You know what, ladies? If you take forever to back up a parking space, please comment and tell me why. Because there's all these things to be. Yeah, checking your lipstick.
She's not doing when she's coming around the bed.
Doing your checkbook, checking. I don't know what you're doing, but my thoughts are, get the hell out of the parking space. Pull over somewhere else. Right. Free up a space.
Don't park in a non-space.
Right, you've done your shopping. Move on. And let people park, right? Okay, so that's the scenario, because this happens to me all the time, and this happened the other day. And so in my mind, I started, again, and I don't know why, but it just happens. And I'm thinking, why is she taking so long? And I go, she's probably in the car crying. She's probably in the car crying because her and her boyfriend used to come shop together at the store, but they're not together anymore. So now she's shopping without him, and it's a painful experience. And so now she's sitting in the car crying and wondering, what did she do wrong to make this relationship end? And why is she so horribly alone? And she's probably crying and trying to fix her smudged mascara in the mirror right now. In the meantime, I'm waiting to get space. That's where my mind starts to go. And then I start to laugh. And I'm no longer mad. I'm laughing at this girl who, I don't even know if that's the scenario. But in my mind it is. And it makes me laugh. And so I'm not pissed off anymore. I'm laughing at this poor lonely girl who's brokenhearted, wiping her mascara off her face.
And you don't even say anything to her to make her feel any better. You just laugh at her.
No, I'm not going to go to her window. She might think I'm weird. Hey, lady, you okay? I should do that. Hey, lady, you okay? I'm just asking because you're taking freaking forever to back out of space, but you might be, I don't know, having a stroke or something, and maybe I can help.
Yeah, well, it makes me think of that movie, As Good as It Gets. With sitting at those people are at this table, and he's just like, "There's Jews at my table." He starts making fun of them and just being like the most ridiculously like anti-Semitic comments. But it was pretty funny. I don't know if you could do that this day.
That's a good point. Okay, so the other day I saw Blazing Saddles. You remember Blazing Saddles?
I do not.
Okay, Blazing Saddles was a comedy, a Mel Brooks comedy, and people bring up this Blazing Saddles scenario all the time because that movie had so much racial whatever within it, but it was a comedy, and it was actually meant to ridicule racism and to minimize, the negativity as far as like allowing it to be something that we're like kind of intimidated by, let's say, or whatever. It broke it down and made racism ridiculous. And stupid, right? And it reduced it to that, which was brilliant. But because of the words used or some of the things said or whatever, like you think nowadays that movie could not be made because people would get offended by just the use of certain words, use of certain things, and so certain stereotypes. But you got to look at the bigger picture, which, hey, this was, and I think that's again what I do in my mind. I take something that can be a negative, scary thing. And I I make it comical.
Mm-hmm.
And so it makes it easier for me to deal with and for it to no longer be a thing for me. And so, but people, I think we almost can't do that nowadays because everybody's so hypersensitive to words and a phrase that they don't get, wait a minute, what we're trying to do is make, just like in Django Unchained. When Django Unchained came out, and you saw that, and there was the scene where the guys in the hoods and everything, they were going to go and attack their wagon. And they got into the whole thing about how they couldn't see through the holes. Remember?
Yeah.
And they start arguing with each other and they're fighting. And to me, I'm cracking up going, you guys, yeah, you look like stupid idiots. And I could imagine this scenario really happening, something like that, like so stupid, like they're trying to be scary with the men, and man, I can't see it. Well, my wife spent hours making those, guys, y'all don't appreciate it. You know, I love that. And I think we need more of that. We need more of that to just ridicule things that I think, like I said, that are such a negative. Let's joke and ridicule and make it comical and let it no longer be a thing, you know, so.
Yeah, well, that kind of goes back to before talking about, like, some people raise their volume, some people cry, some people laugh at things. Like, there's so many different ways to actually deal with this. And what happens is there's some people that think that their way is their only way.
Right.
And what I really love about hanging out with you is, like, you always find that humor and stuff. And I want more of that in my life. Like, I want to laugh more. Every single time I laugh, I feel better. And that's a fun way to release any kind of frustration versus getting frustrated and like, ah,
right.
And that's kind of more how I'm naturally wired, is like, I will just go deal with it myself. I'll like leave and I'll go deal with it myself. I might write something down. I might go to the gym. I might go do an activity, but that's not always available. Right. You can't always go like just leave the situation and go deal with it and process it on your own.
Right.
And it's not necessarily the best way to do it. And I think that the humor aspect and being able to find it being funny is huge. So what's worse than being in debt is actually being a debt collector. Right. So
hey, imagine that was your job. And some of you, I don't know, that is your job. I don't know, but I don't know if you really like that. No one wants to call and have to harass people and ask them for money.
That people that don't have money.
Right. Now I understand if we owe money, we owe debts, we should pay them. But we've all been in situations where it's like, you know what, I'm sorry, but right now you are last priority. Like Cat Williams has a funny bit about debt collectors. And he says, you know, like first of all, like I said, don't pick up the phone. But picks the phone and he's like, hello? Oh, yeah. And they're like, yeah, we're calling from so-and-so company and you owe us blah, 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 blah. We want to know when you can be able to pay that. And he's like, hello, yeah, what is your name? Okay, Brad, okay, Brad, or something like that, Brad. Okay, are you in front of your computer? Okay, I want you to make a note. Okay, real quick. Yeah, put this down. You're never getting your money. Right. Yeah, no, we're not going to make arrangements. You're never getting your money. You know, and he does that bit, and it's so funny because people have been in those situations that can relate, and they're like, oh, God, I wish I had done something like that, you know. But this is a guy who's obviously been there. Mm-hmm. He's been in the situation. Mm-hmm. He jokes about his electricity getting cut off and you know, stuff like that. I was listening to T.D. Jakes the other day. You know, T.D. Jakes, big minister, great minister. He was talking about when he was younger and their electricity getting cut off. And now he uses that story, and he kind of injects some humor into it, but he uses it when he shares in his sermons now, you know. And so again, you got to take these things and go, how do I make them? Like I said, one, embellish the funniness of it and minimize the scariness of it, I guess is the way to do it.
Yeah, because everything passes.
Yes, everything passes, right. Everything changes. And so, you know, just minimize, like I said, the scary part of it and just maximize the ridiculousness of it and make yourself laugh about it, you know. And you'll feel better when you laugh about it. I did it the other day. I was stressed about some deal I had. You know what it's like, and suddenly, you know, especially running a business, all of a sudden you get, man, you owe thousands here, thousands there. You know, so I'm sorry, what, 10,000 what? Okay, I didn't know about that. Right, so stuff like that. And you go, okay, I can either be like, you know, obviously you got to figure it out. But you can kind of laugh about certain things and go, oh man, and this and that or whatever. Or, you know, just make something humorous out of it. Because for that moment then, it just kind of, it de-stresses you. And it does help you think better when you just de-stress for a minute, because then something will pop. Oh yeah, I didn't think about this and that. It really does. You know, sometimes we're too high strung. We're cutting off maybe ideas or something. So you just got to find a way to just minimize that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that actually reminds me. Just recently, with one of my businesses, one of the raceways, we actually had a freeze put on our account, like a lien put on by the state of Texas, because we had paid the payroll taxes from two different places. Actually, from one place, we paid it for two places. So actually, no, it was the sales tax that we had to pay. So we paid all the sales tax out of one account, but there's two accounts because there's two businesses. There's concessions and there's racing. And we paid all the sales tax from the actual raceway.
So the whole thing didn't pay the other.
So yeah, so they couldn't apply that money over to the concessions that we owed, but we actually had paid. And then all of a sudden, all of our accounts are frozen. And it could have been like really upsetting, because now we have payroll, we have all that stuff we have to figure out how we're going to manage. And dealing with the state, it takes a little while for them to figure things out. But ultimately, actually, what ended up happening is we actually ended up saving money, because we couldn't buy some things because we couldn't write checks right then and there.
There you go.
And then all of a sudden, they were kind of gifted to us in other ways because we needed them. So we either got them on loan or some things were given, and everything worked out. But it was like a situation that's totally out of my hands. And I could have been like freaking out about it.
Yes.
And it actually worked out in our favor. Now, seeing the humor in it, I still kind of it. But I guess I can just look at I worked for this.
I just think it's funny when you say it winds up at some stuff I was going to buy and didn't need to buy. I mean, what was that stuff now? I'm curious. That was so suddenly disposable. You're like, who needs toilet paper? What? Come on now. You know, it's bring your own toilet paper night at the raceway, right? Just some guy
exactly what it
just got to be creative.
Yeah.
So, no,
it's some old clothes we just cut up.
Right. Now here's a weird statement for some people. I don't know what that is, but your phone. I'm sorry.
Yes. Weird statements.
We go forward your calls. So here's a weird statement for some people. Sometimes procrastination is a good thing. And what I mean is, situation happens. Sometimes you don't necessarily need to jump all over it and panic and freak out, right? Sometimes leaving something for a bit. Now, again, depends on what it is and how. A better solution sometimes comes along, or it fixes itself, or something works out to where it's even better than like if you had jumped on it. And I've found that in so many different times that little things, bigger things, where things just wound up being better than if I had started throwing all my hands into it and trying to get crazy with it. So sometimes procrastination can be a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And the way I actually kind of look at it is, I would phrase it a little bit differently, whereas it's the difference between being reactive and responding.
Yes.
Right? So if you immediately act, if you weren't prepared for something, now you're just reacting, right?
Yeah.
Just breaking down the etymology of the word.
Yes.
And we actually do that as beings, we're programmed to do that from day one, like by society and how things are in our lives, to immediately respond. Like we have to, somebody asks us a question, we need to answer them right then and there. We don't. Right. We actually don't necessarily to. Something can go wrong. We don't need to handle it right then and there. And that's kind of goes back to one of the things I was talking about earlier, was because if you are in an emotional state that's not a positive one, that's in that great place, you're not going to have a great solution to it. You might have something that can get you through, but you might also do something that's going to make it worse. Yeah. Which, if you get into that spiral, which I know I've definitely gotten that spiral where I thought I was making things better, I was just trying to act as quickly as possible, and great intentions, and all I did was cause more and more problems. Right. And that is something we can easily do. So if you take that moment, sometimes it works itself out, and other times you get into a better place emotionally, which allows your brain to actually hone in on what's really important, what's really important to you. Yeah. So let's check on the time here. I don't even know if we're going to get to the vision board today.
Yeah, we'll probably have to move that forward. But I think it's better that we go with kind of what we were talking about earlier, and so it's a lot of info there. And
well, I know that's going to help me so much. I can't wait to just start implementing it more in my life and just using laughter as more of a medicine. And I'll share a quick story about what happened with me with laughter, and this is why this is actually, maybe I should have started with this. Laughter is such an interesting thing to me. because my whole life I was, as far as I remember, since I was a little kid, I was really, really serious. And people would always be like, why don't you laugh? You're always so serious. Why are you so serious? All the time. And it didn't come till I was, the reason why it didn't show up until I was actually at an event. And this woman, Marissa Peer, look her up. She's an amazing hypnotherapist. She is a hypnotherapist for the royal family, for several actors, athletes. To give you an idea of how powerful what she does is, you know who Ozzy Osbourne is, and he has had a little bit of a run-in with alcohol, a little bit of issues.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, this last time that he's been sober for a few years, she hypnotized him, and it was after her hypnosis that he stopped drinking, and he still hasn't. So this is how powerful her stuff is.
Yeah, you can get Ozzy to stop drinking. That's a big deal.
Yeah, I mean that guy has doctors studying him to see how he's survived, how much he's drank.
I know. I've heard those stories.
It's pretty insane. So it turned out that when I was a little kid, I was with one of my friends, this kid Johnny Gallagher, probably 4 or 5 years old, maybe even 6, but probably 5ish, and we're sitting on the washer and dryer machine, waiting to leave and go out. And when him and I were together, we would just laugh hysterically. And this is actually where it all stopped, where it all ended. So we're sitting there and we're looking down, and where we're positioned, we can look down like right over here, and there's where the dog food is. And my dog had water and dry food. And the dry food was very like brown and like hard, so she would actually mix the water in with it, and it would start to soften up, and it would look like the worst diarrhea you've ever seen. So now you got 2 5-year-old boys just looking down at this shit.
Right.
Like, so we're just looking at, oh my god, she looks like poop. Dog comes over and eats a little bit of it. Now we're laughing even harder. Then my dad comes over to clean it up and put new food in there. So as he's reaching down, a fly lands on it. Now we're laughing even harder. Then he grabs a paper towel and he's scooping it, and it's like getting all over his arm.
Man, for kids, this is gold.
Oh my god, we are just hysterical. We can't even like express. We can't even talk to each other because we're just like staring at each other, just laughing, tears coming out our face. And my father's like, "What? What are you laughing at?" Like all in a terrible mood.
Yeah, because he's having to clean it.
Not only is he having to clean it, he's dealing with all kinds of other stuff. His job he was not happy with. Things that were going on with my sister, not happy with. Probably some stuff there with my mom too, and you know, definitely a different place in his life. This is 35 years ago, 34 years ago. Geez, something. I never even thought I'd be able to say that.
Like a fine wine, my friend.
But he turns around and he just starts screaming at us, and our laughter just like was completely paralyzed, and we couldn't even explain what we were laughing at, and he like felt like it was laughing at him. So here we are, these little kids, and now I took it on as if I laugh, I'm going to get in trouble. And my friend Johnny got sent home, and now I was laughed, and I'm alone.
You're upset over that. Probably
so,
embarrassed that your friend got yelled at by your dad and all that stuff.
Yeah. So I don't think I've ever like really learned to be comfortable with laughing in moments. Since then, I've been working on it. It's gotten better, and now like this will be a great tool for me. So I don't know if that resonates with anybody watching. If anything like that might have happened to you, it's such a stupid story, like scenario, but this is where we create our belief system.
When we're kids,
before we're 7 years old, with these impressions. So, and then we don't even know we run operating on that system all the time, and sometimes it serves us, and sometimes it doesn't.
But that's exactly right, man. That is a great point, and that's great that you shared that. A lot of people wouldn't, maybe necessarily be able to hone in on that and or even want to share it. But it's great that you have, because I'm sure a lot of people have had those situations where something from a parent or some, in a way, you could say a traumatic event, like you're saying right now, like you're kind of minimizing, like, well, it's not even that big a deal, but it really is kind of traumatic when you're a kid and you get in trouble like that, because that's your parent and he's the authority figure and you're the god, right? And so you go, okay, I'm not going to do that anymore.
Ever.
Right.
Never ever again.
Right. And so But now, as an adult and someone who's clear thinking, you can look back and go, okay, you know what? I'm hinging way too much of my life on that one moment.
Oh yeah. And well, the thing that happens is the way we operate is we actually will create more stories. As soon as something happens, we look for evidence of that thing that we think is going to happen happening. So we like prove ourselves right constantly by making up all these ridiculous stories of what's going on. So that might have been where it started,
right?
That one impression, but then I've looked for ways that that's true all the
to
time.
Validate it,
So even when you mentioned about your wife saying, "Oh, don't, you better not start laughing," I can remember people saying, "Don't laugh," and I would like, and it was that traumatic, and carried it forward. Even though as an adult, like I can tell that it's completely ridiculous, but it's operating on a subconscious level.
Yeah.
So you always reinforce it.
Just laugh, man, and deal with the consequences later. Just laugh and deal with it later. Because you know what?
If somebody's being mad at you for laughing,
right, they have a problem.
Yeah, they have a problem. Sorry.
Right, and so again, time and place for everything. Sometimes it's not the best time, but you know what? Screw it.
Other times you're at a funeral.
Just do it. Right, exactly. You don't bust out during the sermon, but if the priest cusses, I'm gonna laugh. So just do it. And like I said, there'll be more times than not that it's better that you did laugh. So
just don't do it when you get pulled over by a police officer.
No.
I did actually have a little chuckle. I got away with it, but it could have led to handcuffs if I.
It depends though.
If the guy didn't know who I was.
Sometimes you can diffuse it, but I did have one time where this officer was like very serious. He did not want to hear any of my humor, and so yeah. But sometimes even at that, you never know. You can make a little joke about something. One time I was coming home late.
Putting lipstick on your
I was waiting back out of my parking space, and I was pulled over because I had been blowing and going, doing shows, and I was really tired coming home. And it was literally about 4 a.m, and I was driving in from something, and the cop pulled me over because I was actually falling asleep driving, and which is not safe at all, obviously. And he pulled me over, make sure I wasn't a drunk driver. But he's like, where are you coming from? I said, well, I had a comedy show out of town, coming back, been going on low sleep because at that time I still had a job, and oh, you're a comedian, huh? Yeah. Well, tell me something funny, So they do, and it's not like I can whip out knock jokes or something, but I just started joking around with the guy. But he let me go, and just, again, obviously it's not like I was drunk, but he was like, you got to get some sleep, man, and just, was real cool and all that. So again, people want to laugh. This guy's working too. He probably deals with serious stuff all day long. Obviously, he's an officer, and if you have a little moment where you can kind of joke. Maybe he'll feel better about it and just say, hey, man, this could be a good interaction, right? Almost like Roman running out of gas. Hey, what do you know? Something great. So, but yeah, that's the thing. Like I said, I think, like I said, just laugh, worry about the consequences afterwards, Right?
Yeah, and if you end up going to jail over it, Roman's got your back.
Or your wife leaving you.
Just blame that Roman.
Then you gotta find humor in that too. Just move on with your life. I'm just saying, it's just one of those things. But yeah, no, really, humor is important. So please don't let yourself get too serious on stuff, especially nowadays. Hot political environment. Everybody. There's so much tension in the air. Everybody's looking to fight. I was gonna post this the other day. I meant to. That if today was your last day on the earth, you already knew that it was your last day to live, would you spend that last day getting revenge on someone? Would you spend that last day chewing out and telling someone the things you've always wanted to tell them and you never told them? Would you spend your last day just getting even? Or would you spend your last day giving more love, more affection, maybe more apologies? How would you handle it? And so self-evaluate and think about that.
I think that this topic would be an amazing topic to do a live feed on. We just to talk about that for a whole session. So if you guys want to hear us do that, shoot a message, because that is such a great point. Like, what would you do if it was your last day on earth and you actually knew that this was your last day? What is it that you would do? And how does that differ from what you do in your daily life?
Right.
But what can you actually apply, knowing that you do have to consider the future, because I know I plan on being here tomorrow, so I'm not going to do things that will disrupt my future.
Right.
But I
think
think acting in love, like always acting in love and appreciating the other person, that's actually a way of appreciating yourself. And loving yourself is by actually giving love to somebody else, even a complete stranger. And it doesn't mean that you're having sex with everybody.
Right.
Sex is just
a lot of ways to show love.
Yes.
Right. We did not say go have sex with everybody.
Yeah, and there are, times when you have sex and there's no love involved at all, which is sometimes really good sex, from what I've been told. I read about that somewhere.
About that.
Yeah.
Of
course not.
Keeping it pure.
Yeah, of course.
So we'll get on that for next time.
So thank you all so much for joining in, and if this resonates with you, please share it. Make sure you go check out Roman Garcia Super Show. Or have you changed the name?
We are now the Saturday Night Super Show with Roman and Cleto, my good friend Cleto Rodriguez. We've rebranded the show. So our Facebook page, the Saturday Night Super Show with Roman and Cleto.
It's out there on the post. Feel free to go follow it. Yes. They're really funny. Both of them are funny.
Yeah, or go to romangarcia.com and it'll link you to all my social media stuff. So.
Perfect. Thank you so much, everybody. You have a great day. Cheers.